the Chase Thomas Podcast, for people who have nothing but time to kill.
Dawgs to get upset early, that they also have to win multiple games in a row, and that if you get the right matchups in a row, you might avoid some of those heavy hitters if you're not a blue chip ratio team, and you can make a deeper run. There's two schools of thought on that. And then there's the other one, which is like, who is going to have the dudes to be able to go 3-0 or 4-0 without a top 15 roster in the sport and run that kind of gauntlet? Because one of the reasons we were able to see Washington and TCU do this is because they only had to win one playoff game to get to the national title with the regular season run. It's a little bit different to ask those Cinderellas to do it 2 or 3 or 4 straight times to get to the national title. So what say you? Which one do you lean towards, that we're going to see more volatility at the top and more outside of the top 15 blue chip ratios teams make the college football national championship? Or do you think it's going to be less than what we've seen in the 4-team era?
Easily option 2. Easily. Like, it is without a doubt going to be more difficult to win the national championship if you're not one of these teams that has the most talented roster. Like, I'm not 100%, like, we've talked about before how legitimate, the blue chip ratio is. It's kind of a rough, idea of who has the best talent, but you just look at like you said, you just look at the schedule. Like, Washington had to play 13 games to get to the Final Four. They had to play their Pac-12 schedule, and they got to the Final Four. Like, now going through now the Big Ten, obviously they're gonna have to go through, but to have to go through multiple playoff games potentially, and obviously you could still be in that second round. You have that bye week, but I think it's unquestionably like these smaller schools. Like, I think they might, or I should say, like the non-traditional powerhouses, like they might be in for a rude awakening, that they thought increasing the playoff was going to help them have success in college football. But I think it's actually going to hurt them, because I think you're going to see the most talented teams, like as it plays out, like how good they really are. Because I think you go 12-0 against a weak schedule one year and get in the Final Four, like, and then who knows? You get hot, something like TCU, Michigan. I think most people would pick Michigan to beat that TCU team 9 out of 10 times, but they only played once and TCU beat them. So it's when you get down to that, just kind of crapshoot, like you have a chance. But I think it's going to be a lot more difficult to navigate that with a bigger playoff for the non-powerhouse schools, really.
I think you're right, but I do think there's going to be a year or two where somebody does it. I don't think it's going to be a G5 school. Like, I don't think we'll see Boise or Memphis, who might make it this year, they win 3 straight or something like that. But do I think, like, if Aiden Childs is the dude at Michigan State, right? If he, like, most years, it's still not going to be them. But if he's a Heisman quarterback, Michigan State goes to, I don't know, Ole Miss for their first round, Georgia and or Ohio State is upset in the second round, and they avoid some of the big dogs, and then they just ride the Childs Heisman stuff to a national title game. I think that does happen still. I think we're still going to get those kind of seasons for every now and then, but I don't think you're getting back-to-back like Washington TCU stories in the national championship game. I think more often than not, we're going to have like what we're seeing in college baseball, where back-to-back years we've had SEC teams be in the college baseball World Series championship. I think we're going to see several years, probably over the next 5 to 6, where Ohio State is playing the best team in the SEC in the national title. Like, I think you're going to see that. But I still do think one of these teams, a couple of these teams, will run the gauntlet and surprise everybody by going 3-0, 4-0, because the C's part the right way and they ride. I think it's going to require an elite quarterback, though. I don't think you're going to be able to pull this off.
Yeah, sports are unpredictable. Like, it's going to happen. Someone's going to make a run and have some great story at some point in history. Like things like that. Like Cam Newton is not like probable to happen, something like that. But it did, and it was a magical season. So things are going to happen. It was just easier when you had to run through that Pac-12 schedule that might have like 2 ranked teams on it instead of now having to beat 4 in a row to win a national championship. But things can still happen. I feel like part of this came from like this idea that like the SEC was just getting favoritism in this 4-team playoff, but the SEC in 10 years of the 4-team playoff, the SEC got 2 teams in twice. The Big Ten got 2 teams in at least once. Did they get them in twice? No, I think the Big Ten got 2 teams in 2022, and the ACC got 2 teams in 2020 when Notre Dame was technically part of the ACC that year. So it's like,
yeah,
there were other and I think that was the chance, because at the end of the day, the committee like wants it to be like a nationwide thing, and if they can take the conference champions from those major conferences, like you look at some years where Oklahoma was, maybe up for grabs with someone else, a second team from another conference, and they went with the conference champion of Oklahoma. So it's like, I think ultimately they wanted to put in those 12-0, those 13-0 and 12-1 conference champions. And now it's like, okay, you got that conference champion, you got that 13-1 season. Congratulations, you're the 4 seed, and you get to play Alabama in the first round.
Yeah, but not the same Alabama that we've been accustomed to seeing. So
could be better. Who knows? Kalen DeBoer could be even better than Nick Saban.
Could he?
I mean, anything can happen. Who knows?
Could he though?
I'm
like
not betting
better?
on it. I hope not. But who knows? I think no one was ever supposed to be better than Bear Bryant. So we'll see. He's obviously,
there was a gap there, Matt Green. There was some time in between those.
No, that's definitely true. But obviously, I mean, no one's taken over a healthier program than taking over the one that Nick Saban ran for the last 20 years.
That's true. I would agree with that. All right, Matt.
Nicely done, nephew. The Chase Thomas podcast. Hell yeah.